How to be the best scaffold builder, scaffolder. Because God didn't create skyscrapers, scaffolders did. This job isn't for the faint of heart, soft of hand, or slow of foot. It's for a special breed. We're talking the duct tape on the boots, steel pipe in the sun, eat your lunch on a beam kinda people. You don't choose scaffolding. It kidnaps your soul and teaches it to love vertigo. So you want to be the best scaffold builder, huh? Strap in, because this ain't just about pipes and planks. This is a lifestyle, a creed, a rite of passage for the type of man or woman who laughs in the face of gravity and eats lunch 60 feet in the air while cussing out a wrench that just slipped through their fingers. Scaffold building isn't a job. It's an identity, and not for the soft-palmed, smoothie-sipping, Wi-Fi dependent civilians of the world. No, this is for the wild ones, the sunburned saints of the industrial skyline. You don't choose scaffolding. It kidnaps you at a job fair, introduces you to pain and overtime, and somehow you fall in love. Long before OSHA, long before hard hats, and definitely long before someone figured out how to charge $4 for bottled water, the first scaffolders were cavemen who tied logs together with vines just to hang their mammoth jerky high enough to keep it from the wolves. That's right, the profession's ancient. We're talking Egypt level old. You think those pyramids got built with good vibes and slave labor alone? Hell no. Some poor bastard with no safety harness and a death wish had to climb up and make platforms for the real builders to do their thing. He was the proto-scaffolder. He died doing what he loved, praying the platform didn't collapse. Fast forward to the Romans, aqueducts, colosseums, mass ego and marble statues of men with 8-packs and daddy issues. Who do you think got those stones up there? Scaffolders, baby. The ghosts of those sweaty, sandal-wearing scaffold legends are still watching every time you click a cupola. So when you put on that harness, just know, you're part of a lineage that spans dynasties. And now, it's your turn to rise. Let's talk about greatness. Who was the best scaffolder of all time? Was it Bobby, no harness, Delacruz, the man who allegedly built half of Manhattan in the 70s on a diet of coffee, whiskey, and spite? They say he once built a 10-tier rolling tower during a snowstorm while blindfolded, just because someone said union guys were soft. Or maybe it was Maria, elbow-deep, Gutierrez, who once outbuilt an entire crew of men while 7 months pregnant and cursing in 3 languages. The truth, the best is whoever earns it next, and that could be you, if you're willing to bleed a little, sweat a lot, and never stop moving. So how do you begin? First, lose the idea that this is just a paycheck. This is combat with metal and gravity. Show up to the site like you're reporting for duty. Union or non-union, pick your path. Unions give you training, benefits, and a brotherhood. Non-union might throw you in the fire quicker. You'll learn fast or die trying. Either way, you're in. Now gear up. Steel toe boots, harness, hard hat, gloves, and don't forget the ego. You'll need it when someone tells you to hang off a beam with 1 foot and a crescent wrench. Know your tools, know your terms. Don't walk in asking where the metal stick thing goes, or you'll be sent to get an airbender level. That's code for, this guy's a joke. Learn your ledges, standards, base jacks, and braces. Learn to climb like a cat and carry like a mule. Move like you're in a ballet where everyone's mad and nobody's wearing deodorant. Be the guy that everyone wants on their crew, not the guy who disappears every time there's plywood to load. Don't be afraid of heights. Be afraid of not getting paid. Because once you get good, like, real good, the money gets stupid. You start out making maybe $20 to $28 an hour. That's enough to make rent, fix your truck, and maybe buy a beer that isn't in a can. But once you start traveling for shutdowns, turnarounds, big industrial sites, boom, you're hitting $35 to $50 plus an hour. Plus per diem. Plus overtime. That's $3,000, $5,000 a week if you know how to hustle. You can turn a wrench and come home with 10 grand a month. But that's just the worker's slice. The real bread's in ownership. Start your own scaffolding company. Bid industrial contracts. Run multiple crews across multiple states. That's where 6 figures is just your baseline and 7 isn't a pipe dream. Don't just work in scaffolding, own scaffolding. But first, you gotta earn your stripes. You gotta be the guy they call when they're behind schedule. The one who doesn't whine about the rain. The one who finishes first and fixes what others messed up. Be faster. Be smarter. And for the love of all that's holy, don't be the guy who drops a wrench from 80 feet. That guy becomes a cautionary tale. The best scaffolders are part athlete, part engineer, part crazy person. You need balance, timing, grip strength, and the ability to carry a 10-foot tube like it's a pool noodle. You need to know what 6 feet looks like without measuring. You need to read blueprints, understand weight loads, and guess how many planks you can fit in a pickup bed without violating state law. You need common sense, street smarts, and the patience of a monk teaching toddlers how to walk on stilts. And then there's the crew. You'll meet legends. Old heads with busted knees and stories of jobs so wild you'd think they were on acid. New guys who wear Yeezys to the site and complain when they chip a nail. Jokesters who'll zip tie your harness to a ladder and foremen who once built scaffolds in war zones. Respect them all, but fear none. You're here to rise. And rise you shall. One tube at a time. One bay at a time. One wild, glorious structure at a time. This job will break you before it makes you. Your hands will blister, your knees will scream, your back will beg for mercy. You'll be drenched in sweat, baked by the sun, frozen by wind, and cursed by every trade that has to walk your decks. But one day, you'll look at a finished scaffold that reaches into the sky and say, I built that. And that feeling, that's why we do it. That's what makes you the best. You wake up at 5 a.m. and your back already feels like you've been sleeping on a bundle of bass jacks. That's normal. You get used to it. You're not supposed to feel fresh in this line of work. You're supposed to feel forged, like your spine was welded together in a shipyard and your knuckles were sanded by the gods of grit. The coffee's terrible, the ride to the site is long, and the porta-johns smell like they've been cursed by an ancient demon of methane. But you walk into that job site like a gladiator entering the arena, because you know something the other trades don't. Without scaffolders, nobody does shit. You don't pour concrete without us. You don't weld pipe. You don't blast, paint, patch, or inspect. We're the first in and the last out. You don't need applause when your work speaks for itself. A towering jungle of steel and plank reaching into the heavens, built by your own calloused hands. And the respect, it comes quiet, when the painters, welders, or fitters say, "Damn, that's a solid scaffold," and you just nod like it was nothing. That's the scaffolder's mic drop. You'll notice a strange shift in yourself over time. At first, you're the new guy, awkward with the clamps, stumbling over planks, asking stupid questions. Then one day, you're the one yelling at the new guy to watch his damn footing. You start eyeballing levels better than a laser. You start dreaming in tube sizes. You start carrying a crescent wrench even when you're off the clock, just in case something in the grocery store needs tightening. The transformation from laborer to scaffolder is like a werewolf turning under a full moon, violent, sweaty, and oddly majestic. Let's talk technique. You think it's just about stacking metal? Think again. There's a dance to it. A flow. The best scaffolders are fast but clean. They don't slap things together, they build with precision. Like poets with planks. You gotta master your pace. Too slow and your crew starts talking shit. Too fast and you're dropping pins and making mistakes. You need to be fluid, but solid. Get your hands trained to grab the right clamp without looking. Count your planks with your gut. Know the length of every tube just by hearing it hit the ground. This is muscle memory, born from repetition and a little bit of madness. You also learn tricks, like how to cut a board to fit around a pipe without measuring, just eyeball and chop. Or how to use your hammer to bang a stubborn cupola into submission like it owes you money. Or how to stack your material so tight the laborers cry tears of joy when they see it. Real scaffolders don't make messes, they make masterpieces. There's an art to reading a scaffold drawing. You look at a print and you don't just see lines, you see structure. Weight, gravity, risk, potential. A good drawing is your map, your battle plan. But sometimes there's no drawing, just a foreman pointing at a pipe rack and yelling, "I need a 10 by 10 deck around that valve, now." And that's when you earn your name. You improvise. You sketch in the dust. You start building. You problem solve like MacGyver if he worked for Brandsafeway. Because scaffolding isn't just skill, it's instinct. Your environment will test you. Rain makes everything slick. Wind makes you reconsider life choices. Cold makes every metal touch a betrayal. But you adapt. You throw hot packs in your gloves. You wear layers until you sweat and then you strip like it's a peep show. You tie off when the gusts come in. You keep moving, because stillness is defeat. You work in the rain, in the snow, under a sun that wants to fry you alive. And you laugh through it all. Because there's something about suffering together that forges the tightest bonds. Scaffold crews are family. Dysfunctional, sarcastic, loudmouthed family. The kind that makes fun of your haircut but would also punch a foreman in the throat for disrespecting you. You ride or die together. You eat together. You suffer together. And when the job ends, you drink together like Vikings returning from war. That bond is sacred. Protect it. Because no matter how good you are, you're nothing without a solid crew. Trust is everything when you're handing a 20-pound plank to a guy 30 feet above you. Now let's talk egos. Every scaffold yard's got big talkers, ladder climbers, clipboard kings who haven't touched a wrench in 5 years but love to tell you how fast they used to be. Ignore Let your work speak. Let your builds rise. Let your platforms do the preaching. The best scaffolders aren't the loudest. They're the ones people call when the site's on fire and nothing's level. That's your goal. Be the one they trust. Safety's not sexy, but it's survival. Tie off. Wear your harness. Double pin your ledges. Don't cut corners unless you want to cut your paycheck short by getting sent home in an ambulance. You think you're invincible? Gravity disagrees. Even the best scaffolders take a tumble if they get cocky. You're not out here to die a hero. You're out here to build like one. The money keeps you coming back, but it's the pride that makes you stay. You start to love it. The smell of steel and sweat. The sound of a cupola tightening just right. The sight of your crew silhouetted against a sunrise, climbing beams like warriors of the modern age. You start to feel powerful, useful, immortal, even, until Monday hits and you realize you forgot your gloves and your hands are about to become hamburger meat. Ah, yes, balance. Every scaffolder's got war stories. Near deaths. Epic saves. Times you built something with 5 braces, a miracle, and a prayer. Times you caught your buddy by the harness as he slipped. Times you worked 36 hours straight and still had to drive home in boots caked with concrete and sadness. Those stories are the real currency in the game. Collect them. Pass them on. Become a legend not because you talk the loudest, but because you did the damn thing right, every time. Then there's the side hustle. You think scaffolding ends at 5 p.m. Think again. The best scaffolders leverage their skills. You can freelance. Start estimating side jobs. Offer safety consulting. Train the new hires on weekends. Teach yourself scaffold design software and start bidding small jobs under your own name. This is how it begins. You start with side cash, you end up with contracts. You want to be the best? You gotta move like a hustler and think like a boss. Learn business. Learn taxes. Learn how to build a brand out of steel and sweat. The future doesn't belong to those who wait. It belongs to those who build. You ever see a guy roll up to the site in a brand new truck with custom decals that say Torres Scaffolding Solutions LLC, and think, damn, he's made it. That could be you. But first, earn the scars. Nothing's more humbling than your first scaffold collapse. Don't lie. We've all had one. You didn't brace it. You miscalculated weight. You got cocky. Boom, down it goes. Nobody gets hurt, hopefully, but your pride takes a nosedive. That's your wake-up call. Respect the steel. Respect the load. Respect the process. Because it will bite you if you don't. The best scaffolders, they learn from every mistake. They don't hide it, they own it, then they build it better. That's how you level up. Not by avoiding failure, but by walking through it and coming out steel-plated. One day, you'll be the foreman. The boss. The one holding the prints and barking the orders. You'll have kids on your crew calling you Og. You'll be the one teaching them how to tie a perfect lanyard or how to hang a beam without losing a finger. You'll smile when they try to argue, because you remember being that stubborn. You remember thinking you knew it all. But now you do, because you lived it. That's the circle. That's the legacy. You build platforms for others, and in doing so, you rise high yourself. There comes a moment, usually around month 6 or after your first big shutdown, where everything suddenly clicks. You're standing on the 6th level of a system scaffold, sun rising behind a stack, harness clipped, one foot balanced on a ledger, the other swinging free, and for the first time, you don't feel scared. You feel home. The height doesn't shake you anymore. The clang of pipes doesn't jar you. Your body knows where every toe board is, every gap, every potential snag. You're dancing now. This is the scaffolder's version of Zen. Most people live their lives grounded. They never leave the sidewalk. But not you. Your days are spent dozens of feet above ground, threading together the skeletons of civilization. What the world sees as chaos, pipes, planks, clouds of dust, you see as opportunity. Every structure is a puzzle, and you've become a master of solving it without all the pieces. You don't always have enough pins, or the exact lengths you need, but that's where your genius kicks in. Scaffolders improvise better than jazz musicians in a thunderstorm. Got a 6-foot tube but need an 8. Stack some bass jacks and say a prayer. Need a kicker but ran out of clamps. Reuse one from the bottom and tighten it like it owes you money. This isn't reckless, it's adaptive engineering. It's surviving in the wild. You do what it takes to get it built, and then you go back later and make it pretty. Or you don't, because ugly scaffolds still get the job done. The only people who care about beauty are the safety guys with clipboards and those TikTok influencers trying to look tough in a vest for 20 seconds. Real scaffolders care about strength, load, weight, stability. You want your work to be invisible, not because it's unnoticeable, but because it works so well nobody ever questions it. The best compliment is no complaint. You learn to read the site like a battlefield. You know when the material drop is gonna slow you down, when the fitters are about to block your access, when the supervisor's about to scream over radio because he doesn't understand scaffold math. You start moving ahead of the chaos. You plan your bays like you're playing 4D chess. While others are reacting, you're already laying out the next 3 levels. That's how leaders are made. That's how legends are born. You're not just showing up to stack pipe. You're showing up to conquer territory. Think about it. Every scaffold you build is temporary, and yet it has to be perfect. That's a strange truth scaffolders live with. We build structures meant to be torn down. There's a lesson in that. A kind of philosophical poetry. Like samurai who write haikus before battle, you learn to appreciate what doesn't last. You build it anyway. Strong, solid, clean, even if it's coming down in 2 weeks. That's pride. That's discipline. That's being the best. Eventually, you start building more than just scaffolds. You build confidence, leadership, a name. People start requesting you by name. Get Torres on this job. He moves quick. Put Maria on that pump deck. She builds cleaner than anyone out here. That's currency. That's how you move up. And when you do, don't be a gatekeeper. Remember what it was like to be the new guy. Don't haze the rookies just to feel big. Train them, push them, teach them how to move fast, think smart, and not die. The more scaffolders who know how to build right, the safer the site is, and the better your crew runs. A good scaffolder teaches, a great one inspires, and the best makes others better. Now let's get into the real talk, the dark side of the game. Burnout is real. Your body's not a machine. You're gonna get hurt. Your knees will go. Your back will seize. You'll throw out your shoulder throwing a clamp like a baseball. You'll wake up one day and realize your fingers don't straighten all the way anymore. That's the cost, but you can manage it. Stretch, hydrate, eat like you give a damn. Wear knee pads, even if they look dumb. Take care of your gear and take care of yourself. The best scaffolders don't just survive, they endure. They last. Longevity is the flex most people overlook. And mental health. Yeah. Let's talk about it. Scaffolders see a lot of pain. Accidents. Close calls. Pressure to perform. Travel gigs that take you away from your family. Foremen who think yelling solves problems. It gets to you. You need to laugh. You need to talk. You need to take breaks when your brain's fried. Don't bottle it up. Don't be that tough guy who drinks every night and pretends nothing bothers him. Real toughness is being able to build a 5-tiered tower while talking about how your kid made you cry with a crayon drawing. This trade will test your heart as much as your hands. The road to being the best is paved in sore joints and hard choices. You're gonna miss birthdays. You're gonna be working night shift while everyone else is asleep. You're gonna stand on a beam watching fireworks on the 4th of July from 120 feet in the air, wishing your girl was next to you. That's the price. But it's also the payoff. Because you'll have stories nobody else does. You'll see the world from angles most people fear. You'll have built things no one else could. You'll walk into a refinery and someone will nod at you because they recognize your work. You'll drive past a skyline and say, "I was there. I built that." And nothing, no office job, no desk, no Zoom call, can match that kind of pride. Scaffolders live different. We think different. We don't follow blueprints, we bend them. We don't just solve problems, we tie them off and keep moving. We are the first in, the last out, and the hardest working crew on the job. The best scaffolder is a ghost when needed and a beast when required. He knows when to shut up, when to speak, and when to disappear into the shadows and knock out 4 decks before anyone notices. He doesn't need to brag. His work does that for him. His structures are sound. His crew is safe. His legacy is in the bolts he tightened and the boots he lifted. And guess what? He wasn't born that way. He earned it, day by day, bolt by bolt, build by build. So if you're looking to be the best, don't wait for someone to hand you the title. Take it, steal it, earn it like your rent depends on it. Because it probably does. You've got the chance to be more than just another name on a man lift. You can be the one they talk about long after the scaffold's gone. You can be the one who built clean, moved fast, and always got it done. Welcome to the brotherhood. Welcome to the climb. Being the best scaffolder isn't just about stacking tubes and hoping they don't fall over. It's about building a reputation. Reputation travels faster than a dropped wrench. Word spreads. You hit one job in Louisiana and kill it. 6 months later you're getting calls from Texas, California, North Dakota. The refinery world is small. People remember who works clean, who moves fast, who shows up sober, and who disappears when it's time to load the trailer. You want to be the best? That means showing up even when you're tired, even when you're hungover, even when the job sucks, because the truth is, most of the time it does. It's hot, or it's cold, or it's windy, or the crane's delayed, or the prints are wrong, or the safety guy decides this is the day he wants to pretend he's a cop. But you don't flinch. You roll with it. You adjust. You adapt. Scaffolders are like cockroaches with a tape measure, indestructible, clever, and always figuring out how to build something out of nothing. You start to understand the rhythm of the job. There's a pace, A beat to construction sites. Scaffolders move in sync. One guy on the deck, one guy passing tubes, one guy swinging clamps, and if you're good, you don't need to talk. You just move. It's like watching a band play. Tight, snappy, efficient. You know you're part of a good crew when the work feels like choreography. The best crews don't need a foreman screaming at him. They already know the score. But let's talk about the days when the job goes sideways. Because it will. You'll show up ready to build a 6-tier scaffold around a tank, and the tank isn't where it's supposed to be. Or the pipe rack is full of insulation guys who don't want to move. Or the welder already ran his leads right through where you're supposed to drop your deck. That's when you either throw a tantrum or take charge. The best scaffolders don't panic. They pivot. You say, "All right boys, plan B," and suddenly you're laying out the build from a new angle. You throw some base jacks on gravel, pin your standards into concrete, rig a cantilever if you have to, and keep moving. That's what separates the amateurs from the legends. It's not about what you do when it's easy, it's what you do when it's chaos. And oh, there will be chaos. You'll have those jobs where half your gear is missing, the scaffold tags are outdated, and the only level you've got is the cracked one someone found in a bucket of rainwater. But somehow, you get it done. You get creative. You figure out new ways to brace, new ways to deck, new ways to keep that whole structure upright with 3 pins and a wish. Because that's the job. Half scaffold builder, half magician. The money's good, yeah. We've said it before, but let's break it down like a hustler. Let's say you're working a big shutdown, 72 hours a week, $38 per hour, plus $125 per day per diem. That's roughly $3,200 per week. You do that for 6 to 8 weeks straight. You're walking away with $20,000 plus. You do that 2 or 3 times a year, with smaller jobs in between. You're looking at a 6-figure year, in a trade most people don't even know exists. And that's just as a journeyman. If you level up, go foreman, general foreman, estimator, or start your own company. Now you're talking real freedom. You can make $150,000 plus a year if you play your cards right. Buy your tools, buy your truck, buy your time back, work smarter, save smarter. Don't just spend your check at the bar trying to forget the pain in your knees. Invest it. Buy land, buy stocks, buy equipment, or buy silence. The kind you get when you don't have to take a job just to survive. Being the best means thinking ahead. Think bigger. Don't just dream about payday. Dream about building something permanent. Because scaffolds are temporary, but wealth, that's what sticks around. But here's the part nobody tells you. Being the best also means being hated. People will envy you. They'll say you kiss ass. They'll say you think you're better. They'll say, "He's too fast, makes us look bad." That's how you know you're getting close. When the whispers start. When the praise becomes shade. That's your signal to keep going. Because the ones who matter, they're watching too. The bosses, the superintendents, the contractors. They see who's putting in the work, who's leading by example, who's not cutting corners. And when it's time to hand out the next big job, guess who gets the call? Not the complainer, not the excuse maker, the builder, the doer, the scaff god who never backs down. There's a strange kind of fame in this world. No red carpets, no champagne, just respect. Just the nod from a welder who's seen 1,000 scaffolders come and go but knows you're the real deal. Just the call from a GC you haven't seen in 3 years, asking if you're available for a shutdown because you're the only one we trust. That's your trophy, that's your Oscar, that's your belt, and you wear it every time you clip in, step up, and start building like the world depends on it. Because in a way, it does. Without scaffolders, the world stops. No high-rises, no refineries, no bridges, no repairs. You're the backbone. You're the skeleton crew. You're the ones who get in first and make it possible for everyone else to do their job. Don't forget that. Don't downplay it. Own it. When people ask what you do, don't say, "I work construction." Say, "I build platforms so others don't die trying to work in the air." Say, "I make the impossible reachable." Say, "I'm a scaffolder, and I'm the best there is." That confidence will carry you. Not cockiness, confidence. The earned kind. The kind that comes from years of grease, busted knuckles, late nights, and early mornings. The kind that gets forged in thunderstorms and broken forklifts and the moment when your clamp pouch rips in the middle of a 10-hour shift. The kind that can't be bought, only built. One pipe at a time. The best scaffolders know that safety and swagger are not enemies. You can be fast and still follow the rules. You can be strong and still ask for help. You can be proud and still admit when you're wrong. The best scaffolders are balanced, in body, mind, and build. They tie off without being told. They double-check their work even when nobody's looking. They build as if their name is stamped on every cupola. Because in a way, it is. And don't get it twisted, women are killing it in scaffolding too. Gone are the days when this trade was only for grunting men with crushed fingers. Female scaffolders are coming in strong, focused, fearless, and often cleaner than their male counterparts. You want to see the definition of best? Watch a 5 feet 4 inches woman outbuild a crew of guys twice her size and still make it look graceful. Respect is genderless in this game. It's earned by hustle, not chromosomes. So no matter who you are, if you show up, strap up, and build like you give a damn, you're part of the crew. And if you push yourself further, you become the best. The climb doesn't stop. There's always more to learn, more to build, more to conquer. Maybe next year you're running your own crews. Maybe 5 years from now you're bidding $1 million contracts. Maybe you're mentoring young bloods who look at you like you're Superman in a safety vest. And maybe, just maybe, you become the one they talk about. The legend. The ghost. The name that lives on long after the scaffold's been stripped and the site's gone silent. There's something about scaffolding that transforms you. Not just physically. Though yeah, your arms will get ripped, your core solid, and your grip strong enough to crush a Red Bull can with a handshake. But deeper than that, it rewires your brain. You stop seeing structures the way normal people do. Most folks walk past a building and think, nice windows. You walk past it and think, bet I could have built that deck in 3 tiers with a 2-foot kicker and still cleared the overhang. You look at churches and bridges and water towers like a tiger eyes prey, assessing angles, noting tie-in points, mentally inventorying what you'd need to get up there. It becomes second nature, even off the clock, even on vacation, even drunk. Once scaffolding gets into your system, you never really shut it off. You spot weak bracing in your dreams. You calculate tube weights while grocery shopping. And you judge other people's scaffolds with a silent, merciless stare like you're Gordon Ramsay and someone just served you an unpinned ledger. That's part of becoming the best. You stop accepting good enough. You hold every job to the standard you've built in your bones. Doesn't matter if it's a shutdown in Louisiana or a school in Idaho. You build it right or you don't build at all. And when people complain about how much scaffold costs, you don't flinch. Because they're not paying for steel and labor, they're paying for access, for time, for safety, for certainty. They're paying for what you do better than anyone else. The best scaffolders don't underbid just to get the job. They charge like they're building the damn moon, because they know what they're worth. And they know what can go wrong when people try to save money on the bones of the job. The cheapest scaffold is the one that doesn't collapse. And the fastest scaffold is the one you don't have to rebuild twice. You learn to stand your ground, to negotiate, to show clients, hey, we can do this fast, but not stupid. We can do it cheap, but not suicidal. Pick 2. That kind of clarity gets you respect, and paid. Now, let's talk about the demolition side, the teardown. Most people think the glory's in the build, and yeah, it is. But the teardown is where your finesse shines. Anyone can sling a clamp. But pulling a 10-tier system scaffold down clean, organized, without busting gear or injuring your guys, that's mastery. That's being the best. You don't just start ripping stuff off. You dismantle with purpose. You track your materials. You load out like you're packing for war. You teach the new guys how to wrap up a deck like they're rolling sushi. Tight, even, efficient. You get the yard guys to smile when your load arrives. You leave the site looking like a team of professionals was there, not a pack of caffeinated raccoons. And here's the truth they never put in the brochures: a good teardown will get you more calls than a flashy build. Contractors remember who cleaned up, who saved them money by getting out early, who didn't destroy the sidewalk or leave pins scattered like confetti. If you want to be the best, don't just build well, exit like a king. Leave no mess, leave no question, leave a legacy of excellence. You know who else gets remembered? The teachers, the mentors, the ones who took the time. Maybe you remember yours, the old guy who showed you how to clamp a ledger with one hand and drink coffee with the other. The lady foreman who taught you to check your anchor points twice. The crazy bastard who swore by steel-toe Crocs and somehow never got hurt. They stuck with you, and now it's your turn to pass it on. Don't hoard knowledge, share it. Teach the next wave of scaffolders how to be better than you were. That's how the game evolves. That's how legends are made. Not just by what they build, but by who they lift up. You'll have your own quirks too. Your own systems. Maybe you label your clamps by type. Maybe you wrap your tools in tape with your kid's name on them. Maybe you blast metal music through your earbuds while building like it's the Super Bowl. Whatever your thing is, own it. Develop a style, a signature. Something that sets your work apart. Because when your name starts getting passed around job sites like it's currency, you want people to say, oh yeah, that's the dude who never misses a tie-in. That's the chick who can build a rolling tower blindfolded. Make yourself unforgettable. Because this world is fast. Crews change. Foremen move on. Contracts end. But your reputation, that sticks. That's your legacy. And you know what else makes you the best? Knowing when to slow down. Not every job is a sprint. Some builds are delicate. Some decks wrap around 1000-degree reactors or 80-year-old steam lines held together by asbestos and hope. Those jobs require patience, steady hands, focus. You don't rush those. You move like a surgeon, not a brawler. You brace twice. You check your anchors. You talk to the crew and make sure everyone's head is in the game. Because one wrong move and somebody's mother gets a phone call they never wanted. The best scaffolders don't just move fast, they move right. And that includes knowing when to stop. When to say, hey, we need a lift for this. Or, let's wait for the permit. Or, this ain't safe. I'm not putting my crew on it. That kind of courage, that kind of backbone, that's rare. But it's necessary, because if you're gonna be the best, you better be willing to put your name on that job. And if you wouldn't want your kid walking that deck, then tear it down and build it again. This trade doesn't need more cowboys. It needs kings, and queens, and generals. Builders with integrity. That's how you earn the right to call yourself the best. You don't win that title in a day. You earn it one clamp at a time, one deck at a time, one tough shift at a time. And yeah, there'll be days you want to quit. Days your knees scream. Days the rain turns your boots into buckets and your gloves into sponges. But on those days, you push through. You show up. Because the best don't disappear when the job gets ugly. They lean in. They lift up. They grind harder. And they do it with a smirk. Because pain means progress, and discomfort means you're growing. You'll have your milestones. First big build. First shutdown lead. First time your drawing gets approved by engineering without a single red mark. First time a new guy calls you boss. And one day, if you keep building, keep teaching, keep pushing, you'll look back and realize you've become the very thing you looked up to. The guy, the legend, the one who walks onto a site and people straighten their posture, like, damn, he's here. And not because you bark orders or puff your chest, but because your presence means the job's about to get done, the right way. You'll start to notice something else too, peace. You'll be on the second or third level of a system build, the sun just rising, crews still quiet, and there's this moment. A silence, a breeze, a view, and in that moment, you'll realize, scaffolding gave you more than sore muscles and a fat paycheck. It gave you purpose. It gave you perspective. You don't see the world like civilians anymore. You see height, pressure, risk, beauty. You've become part of something rare, a brotherhood of the build. A tribe of skywalkers. A community of people who create the temporary so others can do the permanent. And that's the real flex. There's a smell that every real scaffolder knows, a mix of steel dust, sweat, diesel, coffee, and rusted out commitment. It's the cologne of the job site. No cologne bottle ever captured it, but once you've worn it for a few years, you can smell a scaffolder from across a parking lot. And that's not a bad thing. That's the smell of experience, of earned muscle, of someone who's put in the hours while the rest of the world was sleeping. Because nobody tells you how lonely it can feel working 14-hour shifts in a strange state, surrounded by strangers, standing on a beam as the sun goes down behind a chemical plant. It's quiet sometimes, reflective, and in those moments, you find out who you are. You realize that scaffolding isn't just something you do, it's something that shapes you. You become resilient, self-reliant, confident in a way that no diploma or Instagram quote could ever give you. You learn to figure things out, to solve problems without complaining. You learn that even when your legs are shaking and your hands are raw, you can still pull up one more plank. That kind of toughness is spiritual. It's not just grit, it's transformation. People who've never scaffolded don't understand this. They don't understand why anyone would want to wake up at 4:30 in the morning, slam black coffee, lace up steel toes, and head into the fog toward a skeleton of steel waiting to be born. They don't get why someone would work through rain, or snow, or a Texas sun that feels like it's trying to barbecue your soul. But scaffolders do, because there's something about building that changes you. Something about constructing the framework of access that makes you walk a little taller. Maybe it's the adrenaline, maybe it's the pride, maybe it's the fact that while everyone else is scared of heights, you're up there walking beams like a mountain goat in a hard hat. There's power in that, quiet power. That kind of pride doesn't need to scream. It just exists. You learn, over time, how to read people too. You can tell within 30 minutes who's gonna make it and who's gonna wash out. It's in the eyes, the walk, the way they carry their tool belt. Some guys show up fresh from a training course with their gear spotless and their hands baby soft, thinking they're ready to lead a crew. You give them one half day on a 12-foot wide, multi-tier scaffold on a windy day with no lift and a short lunch break, and suddenly that ego evaporates. And that's not a bad thing. The job humbles everyone eventually. The best scaffolders were once humbled hard. They slipped, they dropped a board, they built something wrong and had to tear it all down. But they didn't quit. That's the key. You want to be the best? Get comfortable with failure. It's part of the game. The only people who don't make mistakes are the ones watching from the ground. Mistakes are just tuition. You pay them to learn. And if you're smart, you never pay the same mistake twice. But just because you're building like a beast doesn't mean you can skip the soft skills. Communication matters. If your crew doesn't understand what's going up, what's coming down, or where the gear is being staged, you're gonna lose time and safety points fast. You gotta talk. Loud, clear, direct. Scaffolders don't whisper. They point, they shout, they gesture like angry Italians on espresso. And when things go sideways, because they will, you don't panic. You redirect. That's how crews stay alive. That's how jobs stay on schedule. And that's how reputations stay solid. Think about this. The best scaffolders are never just scaffolders. They're therapists, coaches, welders' best friends, painters' saviors, the guy the pipe fitters come to when they need a deck repositioned. You're the fixer, the solver, the architect of, "We got you." And with that role comes respect, but also responsibility. Don't be the guy who builds fast and hides the flaws. That's how people get hurt. You want to build like the best? Then build like someone's life depends on it. Because it does. One loose clamp, one weak plank, one missed pin. That's all it takes. And if you're not double-checking your build, who is? The painter with a harness wrapped around his ankle like it's decorative jewelry? The engineer who signed off from a trailer? No, it's on you. You're the real last line of defense. So make it count. Make it tight. Make it strong. And when you walk away from that structure, let it stand tall as your signature. Because every scaffold you build is a reflection of you. It's your art, your name, your integrity in aluminum form. That kind of mindset is what separates scaffolders from scaffold legends. And yeah, we joke around. We talk shit. We prank each other, tape each other to poles, fill hard hats with shaving cream, tell new guys to go find the plank stretcher, or ask for the left-handed swivel. It's part of the culture. You've got to have fun or you'll lose your mind. But underneath all that, real ones take the work seriously. They don't play with safety. They don't half-ass a tie-in. They don't throw hardware from 3 stories up because it's quicker. The best scaffolders have one rule: leave the jokes on the ground and bring your discipline to the decks. And once that scaffold's up and signed off, then yeah, go back to joking, clowning, and hitting the cafeteria like a pack of wolves in neon vests. And if you really want to be the best, you need to master the downtime too. Don't just live for the job. Read books, hit the gym, learn project management software, practice estimating, get your rigging certs, study site logistics. The scaffold builder of the future isn't just strong, they're smart. They can build and bid, plan and lead. They've got a business card in one pocket and a crescent wrench in the other. That's the new wave. That's what's coming. And if you want to stay relevant, let alone dominant, you better evolve. And speaking of evolution, let's talk about burnout. Because yeah, it hits hard. You'll reach a point where every job feels the same. Every clamp is another reminder of how long you've been doing this. You'll feel stuck. You'll question why you're killing yourself for a trade that most people still confuse with construction laborers. That's when you have to zoom out. Look at the big picture. You're not just earning a check. You're building freedom. You're earning time, skill, and leverage. You're in a trade that pays well, travels well, and scales up if you do. You're not stuck. You're forged. And the burnout, that's just a sign you've reached the edge of your current level. Time to level up. Maybe that means switching companies. Maybe that means getting off the tools and into the office. Maybe that means starting your own operation and taking control of your future. The scaffolding path doesn't end, it just branches. And the best scaffolders don't walk the same path forever. They climb it, then they build new ones. So keep climbing, keep learning, keep building, not just structures, but yourself. There's this moment, if you do this long enough, where you stop seeing scaffold building as a job and start seeing it as something sacred. Yeah, sacred. Like a craft, a code, a damn near spiritual act of blue-collar engineering. While other people are sitting in climate-controlled cubicles trying not to get caught watching YouTube, you're up there on the beams, in the wind, building things that will never make the news but literally hold up civilization. Nobody claps for the scaffold crew, but everyone depends on you. That's the beauty of it. Invisible importance. Unseen power. You're the ghost in the structure, the first to arrive, the last to leave, and the only reason everyone else can work safely above ground. That kind of responsibility hits different. It humbles you. And if it doesn't, the job will. You could have 10 years in, a perfect track record, and still get reminded real quick that one missed plank, one sloppy ledger, one distracted second can cost you everything. That's why the best scaffolders carry a certain energy, not loud or cocky, but focused. They're the ones walking the deck before they sign it off. The ones checking every tie-in, testing every plank, making sure everything's pinned like it's going to be their name on the safety report. And sometimes it is. If you're good and loud, you start getting foreman duties. At first, it's cool. You like being the one with the answers. Then you realize you're also the one who gets the blame. Someone drops a wrench off a 5-tier scaffold. That's your ass. Crew member cuts a toe board too short and causes a near miss. Guess who's filling out the incident report at 9 p.m.? Welcome to leadership. Being the best means owning more than just your work. It means owning the mistakes of the people under you, too. Not because you're soft, but because that's the game. You take responsibility. You teach. You correct. You build better the next time. Because if you're leading right, every screw-up becomes a lesson that makes the whole crew stronger. And yeah, there are politics. You've got office guys who've never stepped on a plank trying to tell you how long a build should take. You've got site safety officers who think a loose tag is the end of the world, while ignoring the fact that half the job site looks like a Mad Max sequel. You've got toolroom guys who guard cupolas like they're made of gold. You learn to navigate it. Smile when you need to. Stand your ground when it matters. And above all, never lose your cool on the deck, because the minute you start yelling, you've already lost control. Real leadership is calm under pressure, like a sniper in a hurricane, or a scaffolder with a busted glove still guiding in a 21-footer with 2 fingers and a snarl. The best learn to lead like they build, solid, balanced, dependable. And speaking of balance, let's talk physicality. Because scaffolding isn't just a mental game, it's physical punishment wrapped in routine. You're lifting awkward weights all day. Twisting, bending, climbing, descending. Your body becomes a machine, but machines wear down. Stretch, hydrate, use good form, learn when to push and when to pause. You're not made of pipe. You're made of muscle and bone, and that stuff breaks. The best scaffolders make it look easy not because it is, but because they've spent years making their bodies efficient. Watch a seasoned scaffolder climb. It's not frantic, it's deliberate. Every step, every reach, every twist has purpose. It's like watching someone do construction yoga, strong, smooth, exact. That's what you want. Precision, longevity, power with grace. Because your body is your tool, and the best keep theirs sharp. There's also the social game. Construction sites are full of egos. Scaffolders, welders, fitters, laborers, all thinking their trade is the backbone of the universe. Don't get sucked into that pissing contest. You know what you bring to the table. You're the access king. You're the reason the welder can even reach the beam. You're the reason the insulator isn't dangling from a ladder like a circus act. Let them talk. Let them front. You just keep building. Keep stacking. Keep delivering. And if they've got a problem with it, hand them a ratchet and say, "Be my guest." 9 times out of 10, they'll back off. The 10th time, well, they'll learn why scaffolders are also known as the brawlers of the job site. But only if needed, because the best scaffolders know when to fight, and when to win with silence. You want to build a name that echoes. Build with respect. Build with precision. Build with fire, but also with finesse. Show the rookies how it's done. Teach the guy who's afraid of heights how to trust his harness. Give the overwhelmed apprentice a shortcut that actually makes his life easier. That's how you leave your mark. Not just with steel, but with stories. With lessons passed on. That's real scaffolder immortality. Now let's switch gears. Travel work. Shutdowns. Turnarounds. These are where legends are forged and bank accounts are fattened. But they're also where relationships go to die. You're on the road for weeks, sometimes months. Motel life. Fast food. Gym showers. Time zones that make your head spin. You bond with your crew more than your family. You know who snores, who sneaks beers into their cooler, who always forgets their gloves. You become a tribe, a caravan of scaffold gypsies chasing paychecks and per diem. There's beauty in it, but also danger. Burnout, isolation, loneliness that sneaks up on you when the job ends and you're alone in a room 2 states from home. That's why balance matters. Stay in touch with your people. Call your kids. Text your girl. Don't just live for the check. Live for the future the check is building. Use your travel time to stack cash, but also to stack skills. Learn from every site. Pick up new tricks. See how different crews do things. Then bring that knowledge back home and make your local crew better. Be the bridge between styles. Be the guy who's seen it all and still shows up hungry. That's rare. That's dangerous. That's the best. And finally, let's talk about pride. Because if you don't have pride in this work, you'll never last. This isn't a trade you can fake. You're either in or you're out. Half-assed scaffolders get exposed quick, usually by gravity. But the ones who give a damn, they rise. They get the calls. They get the contracts. They get the keys to the kingdom. So take pride in your build. Take pride in your crew. Take pride in the fact that you are one of the few people on this earth who can turn a stack of random steel into a fortress of access. You are the hidden muscle of industry. The shadow behind the skyline. You are a scaffolder, and if you keep grinding, if you keep pushing, if you keep building like every plank is a chapter in your story, you'll become the best to ever do it. Mastery is a strange thing. You chase it for years, thinking it's some golden moment of recognition where everyone claps and hands you a belt that says, "Scaffold King." But the truth is, when you finally reach it, it's quiet. It doesn't come with confetti or a raise or even a thank you. It comes when you walk onto a site, glance at a structure, and just know. You know the angle. You know the height. You know how much material you'll need, how many hours it'll take, and exactly who on your crew to put where. You don't have to overthink it. You've done it 1,000 times. It's muscle memory in your bones. You've leveled thousands of jacks, pinned miles of tube, climbed more decks than a sea captain in a storm. You don't question yourself anymore. That's mastery. It's silent, internal, and it only shows when things go wrong. Because while everyone else panics, you're the one who keeps building. While they argue about the plan, you're already 3 standards in. You're the anchor, the example, and the moment you stop needing to prove you're the best, that's usually when you become it. But that doesn't mean you relax. That doesn't mean you sit back on your laurels and start acting like you invented the wrench. Because this industry doesn't care how many years you've put in. If you slip, if you slack, if you start phoning it in, you'll get humbled fast. Some hotshot apprentice will show up hungry, moving like lightning, pinning clean, tying off without being told, and suddenly your foreman is watching them the way they used to watch you. That's why the best scaffolders never stop sharpening. They never stop learning. You think the guy who invented system scaffold just stopped at one design. Hell no. He tweaked, improved, streamlined. He listened to feedback from the field and changed it until it worked better. You gotta do the same. Learn new systems. Lay out faster ways to build. Get your 3D modeling skills up. Learn how to design in Layer CAD or Aventus and bring something fresh to the table. Because the moment you think you've made it, you're already behind. That's how fast this trade moves. And while you're at it, teach what you know. The best scaffolders are teachers at heart. Not because they want applause, but because they want the trade to survive. They want scaffolders 20 years from now to still be building right, working safe, and making money. So they pass it down. The shortcuts. The safe hacks. The tricks that never make it into manuals but save your ass when you're 3 decks up and the wind is howling. You don't gatekeep knowledge. You spread it like gospel. Because scaffolders are a brotherhood. A tribe. A strange, wild, brilliant tribe of doers who make the impossible happen with nothing but pipe, plank, and persistence. And it's on you, if you're claiming that best title, to leave it better than you found it. There's also the issue of burnout. Again, because it never really goes away, it just changes forms. At first, it's physical. Your body aches. Your hands bleed. Your shoulders pop like popcorn in the morning. Then it's mental. The grind gets repetitive. The sights blur together. The same bad coffee. The same rigging delays. The same excuses from the same safety guys. But eventually, if you push past all that, burnout becomes existential. You start asking, what's the point? You've made the money, built the scaffolds, earned the representative. But now what? That's where a lot of guys check out. They coast. They take easier jobs. They go quiet. And there's nothing wrong with that, unless you've got more in you. If you're meant for more, don't ignore it. Build a company. Start a training school. Write a damn book about scaffold code. Make a YouTube channel teaching greenhorns how to rig their harness correctly so they don't end up on fail video compilation. Use what you've learned to expand, to build beyond the build. Because your story doesn't end with one great job. It keeps going as long as you keep choosing to evolve. And hey, maybe your body won't let you climb forever. Maybe one day the knees give out, the back seizes up, and it's time to hang up the belt. That's okay. That's when your mind becomes the tool. All those years of knowing what works and what doesn't, that's worth gold. Companies will pay for that. Crews will crave that. Don't just walk off the job and disappear into a recliner. Stay in the game. Mentor, consult, coach. Keep building, even if it's from the ground up now. Because the title of best isn't tied to how high you can climb. It's tied to how much you gave back while you were up there. That's legacy. That's respect. And don't be afraid to mix it up. You've seen scaffolders pivot to other trades and kill it. Rigging, insulation, rope access, project management. Hell, some of the best turnaround planners in the country started out just swinging clamps. The scaffold world trains you to think spatially, structurally, tactically, and that transfers to almost any career on a job site. So if your body's toast but your brain's still buzzing, you still got cards to play. Don't be the guy who peaked at 35 and spends the next 20 years talking about the good old jobs. Be the guy who reinvents himself and stays dangerous until they bury him in a box scaffold he built himself. And above all, protect the standard. The scaffold standard. There's always pressure to cut corners. Skip a pin. Skip a tie-in. Rush a build to make schedule. But the best scaffolders don't budge. Not because they're slow or stubborn, but because they know what happens when you let that slide. Someone falls. Someone gets hurt. Someone doesn't go home. You want to carry the crown. You carry the responsibility too. You hold the line. You keep the standards sacred. Even when nobody's watching. Especially when nobody's watching. That's how you build trust. That's how you build a name that echoes long after your boots leave the deck. That's how you become a ghost, a myth, a legend in a high-vis vest and a scuffed hard hat. So the next time you're on a scaffold, staring down a tricky build with one hand on a brace and the other on your hip, ask yourself, am I building like the best? And if the answer's yes, keep going. And if the answer's no, adjust, rise, reinvent, because there's always another level, always another scaffold, always another challenge to conquer. And the best scaffolders, they never stop climbing. So there you are, 10 years deep into the game, standing on a wraparound platform 80 feet up, arms crossed, squinting into the sun like a war general surveying his kingdom. And in that moment, you realize something strange. It's not about the money anymore. Don't get it twisted, the money's great. It still pays the bills, fuels the toys, fills the fridge, maybe even funds the plot of land you've been eyeing to eventually retire on. But the deeper reward, it's something else. It's the knowing, the confidence, the absolute, unshakable self-assurance that whatever build they throw at you, whatever hellish blueprint or impossible access situation they dump in your lap, you've got this. No hesitation, no doubt, no second guessing. Just action. That's the reward of mastery. It's invisible, but it makes you unstoppable. And people feel it. New guys step lighter when you're on the deck. Foremen check in less. Engineers stop arguing when you give your recommendation. You've become a living solution. And not just technically, spiritually. You carry the weight. You keep people safe. You get the job done. There's a leadership energy that doesn't need a clipboard to be respected. You've got it. And with that comes a new power, choice. You're not desperate for jobs anymore. You choose the projects. You vet the crews. You say no when the vibe's off, or the pay's low, or the job looks like it was designed by a blindfolded raccoon. And saying no feels good. Liberating. Because when you're the best, you don't beg for work, you command it. That's when the shift happens. You stop thinking like a worker, and you start thinking like a builder of builders. A multiplier. You start recognizing patterns. Who's going to last? Who's full of hot air? Who just needs the right push to become something serious? You become an oracle in a hard hat. And that's when you need to ask yourself, what now? Where do you go when you've reached the top of the scaffold, metaphorically speaking? Well, you build a bigger one. Maybe it's time to get your contractor's license. Maybe you hire your own crew, brand your own gear, build a company that reflects your standard. Maybe you start going after federal jobs, bidding military contracts, building access for infrastructure the government doesn't even want the public to know exists. Maybe you branch into inspection, consulting, or scaffold engineering. Maybe you become the go-to problem solver for the toughest builds in the country, the nuclear sites, the underwater bridge jobs, the refinery shutdowns where access is so limited they have to fly in a specialist. Maybe that specialist is you. Why not? If not you, who? You've already proven you've got what it takes. Now the only thing stopping you is scale. So scale. And as you scale, remember the rule: protect your name. That's your brand. That's your legacy. If your company is Torres Industrial Access, and someone says, "Torres built this," they better say it with respect. That means keeping your crews tight, your systems dialed, your builds bulletproof. No shortcuts. No cheap gear. No shady subs who bring shame to your logo. Every scaffold is a signature, and your name is the ink. Keep it clean. Keep it proud. And as your name grows, so does your reach. You'll get opportunities you never imagined. Speaking gigs, podcast invites, training seminars. Young guns DMing you on Instagram asking how to get into the trade. And you'll answer them. Because you're not just the best anymore, you're the blueprint. You're the one showing the next generation how it's done. And if you're smart, you'll package that knowledge. Create a training program. Write a course. Film a masterclass. The art of scaffolding, from greenhorn to God. Sell it. License it. Monetize your mind the same way you once monetized your muscle. And suddenly, you're making more from teaching scaffold than you did building it, and your body thanks you. That's not selling out. That's leveling up. That's playing chess while the rest of the field is still stacking jacks. But don't forget your roots. Don't forget the cold mornings on shutdowns. The 14-hour days. The missed birthdays. The black snot after a week in a coal-fired boiler. Remember it all. Carry it with you. Because that's the fire that forged you. And fire, my friend, is the one thing the best never lose. It doesn't matter if you're 50 and off the tools. You still walk like a scaffolder. You still notice elevation changes, tie-in points, uneven footing, loose bolts. It's who you are, a part of your nervous system now. And that's something you should be proud of. Not everyone gets to say they built the bones of the world. You do. And you did it the hard way. The real way. One clamp at a time. One callus at a time. One brutal, beautiful job at a time. So stand tall. Tell your story. Keep building. Not because you have to, but because it's who you are. And as you keep rising, the world will rise with you. Because scaffolding doesn't just lift structures. It lifts lives. The longer you're in this game, the more you start to realize that scaffolding teaches you about life. Not in some cheesy motivational poster kind of way. No, in the raw, brutal, honest way that only a trade forged in sweat, steel, and gravity can. Every scaffold you build is temporary, no matter how strong it is. Eventually, it comes down. And life is like that too. Doesn't matter how perfectly you built your routine, how tight your schedule is, how much money you made this year, things change. People leave. Jobs end. Your body gives out. But here's the kicker. It's not about making it permanent. It's about making it count while it's standing. A good scaffold gives others the ability to do their job. It supports. It protects. It enables progress. That's what you've been doing this whole time. Not just building access platforms, but building possibility. The welder couldn't reach that joint without you. The painter couldn't blast that surface without you. The inspector couldn't sign off on that beam without your deck. You weren't just part of the job. You were the job. And as you get deeper into the craft, this starts to bleed into everything. Your relationships, your habits, your attitude. You stop tolerating shortcuts, in builds or in life. You stop hanging around people who don't brace their talk with action. You stop wasting time with things that aren't level, that aren't pinned, that aren't grounded in something real. Scaffolding builds you into someone who holds the line, literally and figuratively. And that's rare in a world where everyone wants fast, cheap, and easy. You've chosen solid, safe, honest. That's power, that's character, and it shows. You walk differently, talk differently, not because you're arrogant, but because you've survived too much to pretend anymore. You've fallen and gotten back up. You've watched others quit. You've kept going. That gives you a weight, a presence. You're not a rookie. You're not hype. You're tested steel. And that's the type of person everyone wants on their crew when the build gets hard. But don't forget the new guys, even when you're decades in. Remember what it was like that first week, when the couplers all looked the same, when your harness felt like a medieval torture device and your knees were on fire from hauling plank. You had someone who looked out for you. Maybe they weren't gentle, maybe they called you every name in the book, but they didn't let you fail. They didn't let you fall. Be that for someone else now. Take the new guy under your wing. Show him the tricks. Teach him the code. He might be slow now, but with your help, he could be the next great builder. And if you don't teach him right, someone else will, and maybe not with the same values. So pass it down. Keep the lineage strong. Because scaffolders don't retire. Not really. They evolve. They shift from doers to mentors, from workers to visionaries. And even when their bodies stop climbing, their minds still build. That's the long game. And if you play it right, you won't just be remembered for what you built. You'll be remembered for what you taught, for who you lifted, for the standard you refused to compromise. And while we're talking long game, let's get real about the body. This trade is hell on joints. Your back becomes a math equation. Your knees sound like bubble wrap. Your wrists lose mobility, but you can fight back. Stretch, train, ice, hydrate, get massages. Don't wait till you're broken to start caring. Your body is your rig. Treat it like your gear. Clean it, maintain it, upgrade when necessary. Yeah, you're a scaffolder, but you're also an athlete, a warrior, a climber. Treat yourself accordingly, and when it's time to rest, rest hard. Take that vacation, book the massage, unplug from the noise. You earned it. You don't need to prove your toughness every day. You've already done that 100 times over. Now prove you're smart enough to last. That's next level scaffolder intelligence. The type of wisdom that keeps you in the game longer than anyone else. The type of thinking that turns a career into a legacy. And when you're not building, stay connected to the trade. Read the new manuals. Attend safety summits. Talk to young scaffolders online. Join forums. Post your builds. Share your knowledge. You don't have to be an influencer. Just be an example. Because like it or not, you are the face of this trade now. When you walk on a job site, you represent more than yourself. You represent every scaffolder who ever took pride in doing it right. So stand tall, own that role, and don't let anyone, not a foreman, not an engineer, not a lazy co-worker, drag the standard down. Because once you've earned the title of best, it's not a trophy. It's a burden, a responsibility, a mission, and yeah, it gets heavy. But so did your first 21-footer. You carried that, didn't you? This is no different. And now, let's talk legacy. What are you really building? When the tools are hung up, and the decks are clear, and the crew's gone home, what's left? It's not the scaffold. That's already been stripped. It's the impact, the impression, the story, that foreman who always called you when the job was in trouble. That apprentice who says, "You taught me everything I know." That site that ran smoother because you were there. That's your true scaffold. That's what stands forever. So make it count. Make every job a chapter in your legend. Make every deck a page in the story they'll tell long after you're gone. Because scaffolders don't leave behind structures, they leave behind standards. And when those standards are high, your name echoes. Through shutdowns, through companies, through generations. The best don't die, they get quoted. Old Man Torres, that dude built cleaner than God. Gutierrez, she built around a smokestack in a hurricane. Jenkins, he once tied off to a lightning rod and still got the job done. Be that name, be that ghost, build so well, they have to lie to outdo your stories. That's the true mark of greatness. Being the best doesn't mean you always feel like the best. That's the dirty little truth they don't tell you on your way up. You can build the tightest deck, lead the fastest crew, win the biggest contracts, and still wake up some mornings feeling like you've got no idea what the hell you're doing. Imposter syndrome isn't just for college kids and CEOs. It hits scaffolders too, especially the ones who care. The ones who built their name on results, not noise. But here's the thing. Doubt means you give a damn. It means you respect the work enough to want to get it right. And the best, they don't wait until they feel ready, they move anyway. They show up, clamp up, and figure it out on the second tier. That's courage. That's leadership. That's why they follow you. Because deep down, you're still that first day apprentice, just with better boots, worse knees, and way more wisdom. And in the back of your mind, there's still a little voice whispering, "Don't mess this up." But you don't. You rise. You always rise. That's why you're still here. That's why they keep calling. And as the years pile up, so do the memories. You remember the hot asphalt job where your gloves melted. The frozen scaffold you built during that refinery outage where you had to microwave your harness just to make it pliable. The shutdown where you worked 36 hours straight, built a 12-tier wrap with one functional arm, and still made time to help the new guy sort his clamps. You remember the good bosses, the psychotic bosses, the exes you lost to the road, the beers you crushed in parking lots, the scaffolds that went up like poetry, and the ones that made you question your life choices. All of it. It's not just your resume. It's your rite of passage. Your personal legend. And every scaffolder who's ever lasted knows the story is never simple. You get hurt. You get burned out. You get screwed over on checks. You carry more weight than you should, in your hands, in your heart, in your past. But you keep showing up. Because no matter how broken you feel, the deck doesn't judge you. The deck is always honest. It either stands or it doesn't. And when it does, when it holds, when it passes inspection, when the welder nods and says, "Solid work," that's your church. That's your redemption. There's no job in the world like scaffolding. Where else can you go from zero to hero in a week, based entirely on how hard you move and how clean you build? Where else do you get to build cathedrals out of cupolas and planks, then tear them down and do it all again? Where else do you meet people from every walk of life? Ex-cons, war vets, philosophers, party animals, single moms, hotheads, Zen masters, and all of them speak the same language: steel, sweat, and sarcasm. This trade is a magnet for misfits and legends alike. It doesn't care about your past, only your pace. You can have a GED or a PhD. You can be 18 or 48. If you can build, you're one of us. And that's what makes this brotherhood, this global scaffold tribe, so rare. It's raw, it's real, and it's earned, every single day. So what's next? What happens after you've made it? When the belt's heavy with years, the phone rings less, and the torch is halfway passed to the kid you once trained. You pivot, you plan, you build your exit scaffold, the platform that lifts you into the next version of yourself. Maybe that's a business, maybe it's teaching, maybe it's consulting on massive international shutdowns and laughing when you get paid more in a day to talk about scaffolding than you used to earn working in rain. Or maybe you finally sit still, buy that land, build that cabin, fish, relax, stretch, and finally let your joints catch up with your legacy. But whatever you do, never say, "I used to be a scaffolder." Say, "I am," because even if you haven't touched a plank in 10 years, it never leaves you. You'll still spot good bracing on a walk, still judge people's footing, still flinch at poorly staged material, still wear your keys on a carabiner like you're about to build a stair tower. You'll still move with that strange, confident rhythm of someone who knows what it means to walk steel in a storm and live to tell about it. And when the time comes, and it will, someone will ask you, "How did you get so good?" Don't shrug. Don't downplay it. Tell them the truth. Tell them you started like everyone else, slow, confused, sore, scared of heights but more scared of looking soft. Tell them you listened, learned, built, rebuilt, failed, adjusted, tried again, and never stopped chasing better. Tell them that being the best wasn't something you aimed for. It was something that happened when you kept refusing to quit. And then tell them it's their turn. Hand them the wrench. Watch how they hold it. Watch how they climb. Guide them. And quietly smile, knowing you've done your job. You've built your scaffold, not just of steel, but of influence. And that scaffold will stand far longer than any temporary structure ever could. Because the truth is, the best scaffolders don't just build height. They build people. They build systems. They build names that last. And even after the job site goes quiet, after the dust settles and the final tag is removed, their work, their impact, echoes. In every story, in every laugh, in every perfectly pinned deck someone else climbs with confidence. That's the real measure of mastery. Not applause, not titles, but the invisible platforms you leave behind, the kind that carry others, even when you're not there. So here's to you, the scaff god, the pipe pirate, the plank samurai, the silent builder of safe spaces. You showed up. You outlasted. You built clean when no one was watching. You led loud when someone needed direction. You earned your place not through words, but through wounds. And now, you stand at the top of a scaffold no one else can see, built from grit, wisdom, pain, and pride. So take one last breath, scan the skyline, and smile. You built this. Every step, every story, every rung of the ladder. You didn't just become a scaffolder. You became the best.